Good morning to the Renos. Welcome back to the channel. Project day today, so today's quite exciting. 2021 CB500X Duke, my 2021 CB500X. Rally Raid level 2, so increased travel front and rear by 20mm, full fork internals and rear shock. The front end first, then with that I've got that done and it's back on the ground for doing the rear shock. Let's get into it. So this isn't supposed to be an instructional really by any means. It just depends how difficult it is to film and do the work at the same time. So I'll be trying my best. I'll show you how to get the forks off, get the internals out of the forks, strip and clean the forks, and then just for a case of keeping going, hopefully the forks just go, everything goes and it goes back together again. So I'm going to film as much as I can, let's say, to make it easier for anybody that's going to try it. So I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and my plan was to buy a T7, but that's a whole different video. That's a whole different video. Okay, we'll get up there and we'll get it off. Safely to the side for later on. You might just want to lay your stuff out, orientation, just to make it easy for yourself. And the same with when you take your spacers out. Okay, so we're going to get the fork legs off. So the best way to do this is we're going to crack the top caps before we take the fork off the bike, because once you get the fork off the bike, I've seen people do it, they try and put it in a vise and stuff. Well, it's in a perfect clamp just now. So what we're going to do is the top clamp bolts 10mm, bottom clamp bolts are 14. So there's one at the top, one underneath, and then the forks will slide out. So what we're going to do though is we're going to crack the 10mm clamp on the top. So if we're trying to loosen the cap off and this top clamp is gripping the thread in any way, you can damage it. So we're just going to loosen that off, and then we're going to take a 24mm socket, put it on the top cap. Don't worry about your preload. If you have it, you can wind it off after, and we're just going to crack it. That's it, done. That's all we need to do. And while we're here, we'll do the same on the other side. Make sure to unwind just to make it easy for yourself. If you have preload, just unwind your preload completely, which will take any other extra strain off of the spring when you're trying to take the cap off. And the same with putting it back on again. Don't want to make it any harder for yourself than you have to. So we're going to turn the forks. We've got the top clamp undone, so we've got a 14 on here, 14mm socket, and I've got my knee underneath the fork just in case. We're going to back this off all the way. Oh, it's falling out already, look. I've had these out about the last, I don't know, 3 months, so that's fantastic. So we just loosen that off, see what happens when you look after your stuff, and then the fork leg slides out. That's it. It's simple. People get scared of this shit. It's not voodoo or black magic. It's relatively easy. And if you're not, I pretend to be really clever. So I've got a sticker on here, I've got an L on this one and an R on the other one. If you crack these and they haven't been off, where the bolt goes together, the ring's split obviously, and the bolt goes through, it pulls it tight. So once you take the bolt out, if it's still tight, you get a flat-headed screwdriver in and just chap it just to open it up enough, and then the forks will just fall out. From the clamp, just a little bit of surface crap on here. So all we're going to do is we're going to use a bit of Scotch-Brite. We're going to use nothing more abrasive than this. If you've got little chips and pits and stuff in this stanchion, then you can use 1500 grit, wet and dry, and then try and work it to tidy it up as best you can. The same with, you know, little holes and stuff, because any damage to this pitting, rusting or anything, as it slides in and out, it's just gonna trash the seal, and then your fork's gonna leak, and then MOT failure for one. Nobody wants that. We're gonna clean the internals, but we don't want any more crap than necessary getting internal. So hygiene. We're gonna flush these out completely anyway. So right, you're gonna need a container for your waste oil, and for this particular service strip, whatever, you're going to need a litre of fresh 5-weight oil. So that's what's recommended. So don't go messing thinking you know better and I'll put 10 in it because, you know, it's a plusher ride at speed and bigger hits and yada yada yada. Put the 5 in it. If it's recommended 5-weight, use 5-weight. Somebody who knows and tested all this stuff decided it was 5. So stick with a 5. Right, cleaned up. Going to crack these bottom nuts. So there's a 6mm Allen bolt in the end here on the damper rod, so we need to get that loosened off. So the easiest way to do it, if you put a rag or you've got soft jaws, you can put your mounts for your caliper into the vise and then just crack that off relatively easily. Nicely. Ah, beautiful. So all we're going to do is going to crack it, and we'll just do it back up so it doesn't piss oil everywhere. Just like that. And then we'll, that's it, just up gently. Yeah, so let's get these stripped out, cleaned up. We're going to flush the internals out completely. And then what we're going to do is, as we take them apart, we're going to lay them out exactly as exploded, exactly as they come out. So then when we put them back together, we put the new components beside it, and then we know, I think there's a seal that needs to be swapped off the existing onto the new stuff. So then we can just do one here, one there, and just lay them out and then put them back together in order. So the reason we crack this damper rod bolt at the bottom is the spring pressure is holding this down. So if we strip this out, drain all the oil, and then we try and crack this, and it doesn't go, it just spins, then we need to put the spring and everything, top cap, spacers, top cap, and put it all back together again to give resistance to allow us to screw this off. So while the fork's built, I always crack bottom end, damper rod, and like I say, and just to save any, you know, if there's any oil or anything coming out, just nip it back up ever so slightly. So we're going to take the top cap off. Now, if you have preload, just back it off, helps. 24mm socket. Eye protection, you'll only lose your eyeballs once, well actually twice. Now when you can start to see the seal, it might be just an idea for grabbing another rag. When you start to see, when you can actually see the seal, I would just put a rag over the top and then you can wind it by hand. So you just wind it by hand, there'll be spring pressure there, but it's just like that. Okay, so I've laid out on the floor here a right and left. So as I take everything off, I'm going to set it down as it came off, and then clean everything, put it back in the correct order. Then we don't have to worry about nothing. So we've got obviously everyone's covered in oil. So fork, top cap, and then we've got the spacer, which goes like that. Spacer goes there, and then what we're going to do is, yeah, we can't, well, I'll get the spring. So we're going to tip the oil. So what we're going to do is the spring will come at the same time. I'm replacing the springs. So if I tip this over, the fork will come, the spring will come out. Just try not to get oil everywhere. And while you've got it upside down, you're just going to cycle the fork a few times to, oh, it's a good noise. Is that a good noise? And we're just going to let that, just try and drain it, and then we'll separate the stanchion from the lower. Tiny little flat-headed driver. and we're just going to stick it down. I can get a shot of these now. Stick it down the back of the dust seal and just gently, now without forcing it, because obviously you're going to force, slip, slide, scratch your stanchion, and then that's a disaster. This needs to be a super smooth, slidey, shiny, efficient surface. So there you go, just a little crack, and the dust seal should come off like that. A retention clip for the oil seal, so it's just, you see it's got a wee bendy bit sticking out the side, so we're just going to lift that off again, not scratching the stanchion, and we'll put that down there. Yeah, so we're just going to remove, see, easy to forget, we're going to remove the bolt from the bottom. Now the bolt from the bottom should have crush washer. A crush washer is just a copper washer. We've now got oil everywhere. So that's it. Now this time, slide hammer. So this will go against the seal. And puke oil everywhere. So that's, the lower's empty, apart from some oil. And what fell out there was the bottom out cap for the rod. So that's the damper rod there. And this goes on the end of there like that. And that's what the bolt goes through. So, okay. So we're going to clean this out, flush this out with a brake cleaner, alcohol, whatever you want to use. So what we've got in here is, we've got the bushing, slide bushing, and then we've got the washer and the seal, oil seal. This here is the actual internal bushing. This one notches down inside once you put the foot back together. So just inspect that to make sure that's hunky-dory. If you've ordered a kit and you get a new one, this is another one that's got a split in it. So it's just a case of putting a fine, thin blade in there, just creating a little gap, and then it just pops off. And then when you put it back on, open up with your fingers, slide it on, clip, and it goes back into place. So we're going to take our stuff off the top, which is our washer, oil seal, and top bushing, which we'll inspect as well. Okay, and then let's say we're just going to clean these out. So you want to let this drain, not all over the floor though, or over your bench, and that's it. That's how you strip a fork. And it's like, remember, remove the bolt for the bottom, slide hammer. That's how you strip a fork, easy peasy. And then again, not rocket science, not voodoo, not black magic, just straightforward. Clean out all our internals. You can get a brush down inside, or a rag and a pokey stick, and then you can just force a rag all the way down. Well, not all the way down, make sure you can still get on the end of it, and then yeah, clean it. So we've got two forks split into bits, all clean and tidy. So while everything's apart, let me stand you up here. While everything's apart, this is the top bushing. So inspect the bottom bushing, top bushing. You can see this one here, a little bit, so it's like gold all the way around, except there's a little bit where starting either side there's a band, but the majority of this face is still good. So I'll leave that the next time. I don't have one, so the next time I change my oil, I will definitely change these bushings. If you don't change these bushings, they wear, and then once they're at a wear point, because the stanchion's inside the lower and this is what keeps it tight, it starts to move. So then everything starts to move, and then exponentially the wear just goes whoop like that, and then you're just, yeah, it's just shit, you don't want to do it, and then you fuck your forks. You'll wreck your forks. Don't want to wreck your fork. Okay, update. I've just been and picked the wheels up. I've done the first fork leg. I wasn't going to film the 2 fork legs, so I did the first one. Turns out that you should probably, all the instructions are on the Rally Raid website. I've got them here on this tablet. But it turns out that I didn't have to fully strip the fork, seals, etc. But that's cool, because if I'm changing the oil and stuff anyway, I would have split the fork, completely drained it and cleaned it. So just lets you see like a full process, because their site says, you know, take the damper rod bolt out the bottom, and then take the top, take the damper rod out, switch everything over, and then put it back in and fresh oil and stuff. So I can't see any way. You need to flush it out. So I would have stripped it. I don't know if it makes the instructions easier, whatever. Let's get into it. We have 450 ml of oil here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our uppers and our lowers. So I'm basically, before we actually do the kind of Rally Raid bit, I need to just rebuild the fork. So I need to use the original spring off the damping rod. Original spring off the damping rod. I need that there. Oops, need that there with that. And the damping rod itself has got the little seal on it. So we're going to take the seal off of there. Oops, once I find the opening, take the seal off of there. We're going to reuse the original. We're going to reuse the original seal. So, new damping rod, go this way, and the bottom slot for this bike is where that seal goes, like that. And you're not reusing the original plastic spacers. These don't get used. So, new damping rod, and the spring goes through here, pops out the bottom, and then the bit that I just dropped in here, this is going to slot right into that. Felt good. And then spring and everything else goes in there. So what I want to do first is, I will put the spring in, and I get my damping rod bolt. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this against the wall to create a bit of pressure, and then put this back in again. Now I'm going to put this in, so this should connect to the new damping rod. Can you see? And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fit this in. This attaches the fork, so that the forks now, upper and lower, then become one. As one. So we'll get it nipped, and then once it's together, the pressure of the fork will allow me to crank it properly to whatever the specified torque is. We're going to take the fork, take the spring out just now. Don't need the spring. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the, well, we leave everything with the same stuff. We're going to put the bushing back in. It's all clean, shiny. So bushing goes on, and that will sit into place. That slots into the channel. But how we're going to do that is we're going to put the bushing on, and then I'll actually use this washer, and then I'm going to use, you can buy tools to do seals and stuff, but got a PVC pipe, do the same job, make sure that's seated. So this is the oil seal. So what you can do with these is, if this is new and it's a bit tighter and stuff, is plastic bag and some lube over the top of this seal. Goes on there, like that. Just press that in a little bit. And then I'm going to get retaining clip, whatever I've done with that, on the floor. Retaining clip, I'll give that a wee clean. And all I'm going to do is, I'm going to use my tool, which is this, to press home the sliding on my rubbery gloves. So you'll know when it's gone far enough, because the recess for the clip will be exposed. So if you haven't gone far enough or the clip doesn't go in, you'll know. Oh. Ring, 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 ring. Yep, that's it, dead on. I can see it all the way around, so we shall just give this a wee lube as well. And all we do with this is over and in. I'm just going to get something, flat baited driver, push it down, click, 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 and just make sure it's sitting in properly. Happy days. Right, so without the rally raid stuff, this is us kind of back to square one again. Alright, so you've got your fork, new damping rods in, bolts tightened up, so you would have taken this bolt out, tipped it up, taken the damping rod out, and that would have been it. Then gone from now to fit the rally raid stuff. We're gonna, oops, dust seal. So the dust seal's the same. Dust seal, you just lube up, be able to press that down with your finger as well. So again, we've checked this for damage, integrity, make sure it's all good. I didn't check the mileage as to when the last time I did this, but it wasn't that long ago. So there we go, happy days. So all the seals are back together, forks as it should be. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 150 ml. So we're going to add 150 ml of oil to the fork. Oh, you hear the air. 150 ml, so we're 450 in total, 300. And then, yeah, dead on. And then we're going to, oh, nice. Some gurgling. That's a great noise. Right, so then we have the new damper piston assembly. Shiny, beautiful. This goes this way. So I'm going to drop that in to there like that. And then I am going to add the spacer, which goes with the one side flat, other side recessed. Recessed side goes down so that it sits over the top of the cap that we just dropped in. That goes in like that, pretty. And then we're fluid, cycle, and spring. I'll do the spring first. Yeah, that's cool. So, rest of the oil. Now, to make sure you don't pour it everywhere, give yourself as much room as you can. And we're going to put the rest of the oil in. Now what we want to do is just pull as much air out of this oil as we can. So what we're going to do is just create a wee vacuum by cycling the fork with our hand clamped over the top of this. So all we're going to do is we're going to put our hand over the top, clamp it tight. You feel the resistance, and this forces the air out of the fluid. And as you do it, you can watch, as you let it release it, you can see the bubbles and the air coming back out again. Oh. Hey, gas, that's cool. Really cool. Bit of physics. Oh, slippy hands. One more. Get out of the way. So I think this video is going to be in two parts. I'm going to do this fork install, and then I'm going to do the rear shock as a separate video. We dropped the spacer in, yes we did, and we're going to put this in this way. Why is that not dropping in there? Huh? That's not good. Right, it's just a locator, so what I might need to do is just sand a little bit off of this. That's not going in, look. Why is that not going in? Why is it not going in? That's not good, man. That's pretty poor. Is it? Okay, so I've sanded this down a little bit. I've just put it on a wheel, still round. So this locates on the, or the spring locates on the end of this to keep the spring central. So I was kind of concerned about stiction and stuff, but that's okay, that's perfect. So that goes in there, that goes on there. Oh, you're dirty. There's a wee dot of oil away. And what is that? About 3 mil. Make sure we get this in to replace it. Dickhead. Right, so next step, that's the fork done. What we need to do though is, I'll put this fork to the side for a wee second. One thing is, the original top cap, with the preload on it, this R clip on the bottom, we need to take that off. And then I think this is just for space. We take that off, and then the little clips that we had, I wasn't sure what they were for. This now goes on the end of here. Now these are orientated, the tabs, the little tabs kind of ever so slightly point up the way, so you want to make sure when you fit this, the tabs have got the kind of upward slope. This sits on the top, sits over that pin, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get a socket. I'm using a 8mm socket because it goes over the centre, and then we're just going to chap it down nice and even until until it sits flush against the metal washer, right? Then we're fork back together, and then you want the fork, make sure the fork's fully extended, so you've only got a little bit out the top, and we're just going to press this down while holding this up so that the fork doesn't, the stanchion doesn't travel. We're just going to slot it in. We're going to get a turn on it to get it started, hopefully. Right, so we're pushing on the spring. Oh. Obviously the other one was easy. Now I'm filming this one. Right, so top cap goes in. Get a start on it. Oh, come on, you bastard. Why is that not starting? Like a duck. We're going to torque this, but we'll just nip it there. And then back on the bike. Honky dory. And this is now standing 20mm taller than it was before. Cat here, I thought it was a scratch, jeez oh. And yeah, quite phallic, but hey ho. So I'll move the camera and we'll get this back on the bike. Okay, so fork up into the clamps. Easy peasy, man, absolutely easy peasy. To the top, probably see that's way too far, so what we're going to do is, this top clamps are 10mm, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this, need to make sure that both these are the same. So what I like to do is, you can see the top cap and then the gap in the top of the actual fork stanchion itself. So I like to just have the top cap exposed where you can see the top of the stanchion and literally no more. So Let me just chop it down. Right, so that's on the stanchion, not on the top cap. And then I'm just going to nip this up. That goes there. And then 14mm socket on this bottom clamp. Nip that up, we'll talk to that in a minute. And then we have forks back in the bike. Like I said before, don't worry about the lowers twisting and being in the wrong place, because the lowers spin freely anyway. So when you put the wheel axle in here, all this can't do anything other than straighten up. So, right guys, so both the forks are in. So what we're going to do just now is we're going to torque everything up. So top clamp bolt needs to be released so you can tighten up the top cap. Top cap, if you're running the same bike as me, 22 Newton meters, clamp, top clamp at the side, not on the top, is also 22 Newton meters, 22, 22, and then under here is 32. Okay, all torqued up. I had my brake caliper up out the way, so we'll get the brake caliper remounted. So introducing from Rally Raid. So these are Takasago XL rims, and then Bart Tubeless in Italy do their shenanigans with them. So they come with new spacers, which are, because the wheel's slightly smaller, which are slightly smaller. Oops, slightly smaller than the originals. Slightly bigger than new ones. Sorry, old ones are bigger. So they'll go. Yeah, I think the spacers look wider than original. Not happy about that. Right, okay. Everything here's pointing in the correct direction, okay? Because what was on it came off. And there's too big a difference between these and these, you know, to use them. That goes in there, and then that goes in there, like that. Wait a minute, man. Does that work? Right, what I'm thinking is, it doesn't come with new spacers. Let me see how much is in this. Does it come with new spacers? No, it doesn't. Use existing spacers. Okay, beautiful. Torque for this is front axles 54 Newton meters and the pinch bolts are 22. So 54 on here, 22 on here. Okay, super duper. Let's get on the deck. Okay, we're back in the ground, we're all torqued up, happy days. So I'm just going to reinstall this, which was a pain in the bum with the stand in the way. It's probably going to be a pain in the bum with the stand not in the way. And the way this floats inside, also a major pain in the arse. Again, hope you guys enjoyed that and it was somewhat helpful. And there's my little ratchet for this. Put this last bolt in. Everything hates me. Everything hates me. Last bolt in here. Okay. Rally Raid, level 2, front end and wheel. complete after a fashion. Alright guys, thank you for sticking with me this long. I'll try not to make this video that long. So part 2 will be the rear end and the rear wheel. Alrighty? Cheers guys, take care. Catch you later. Ciao!